What is going on? YouTube, Dr. Way here. And this video here, that I was debating whether to make it or not, but I said I'm gonna go ahead and do it because this whole 10 days until the season of conquest, I'm just gonna be trying to give as much relevant information about KvK 2 and 3 as possible, as I'll probably never come back to be able to physically show you images and video and my personal account in KvK 2 and 3 because I'm going to Season of Conquest. So I want to basically just give you as much information as I can. And I think this tier list is a great video to do next because it'll serve as a general overview and a reference point where you can come back and look at. I'm going to do 3 tier lists. I'm going to do the rally, the garrison, and the open field. This one is going to be the open field tier list. I'm going to cover all the commanders that's available to you in the KvK 2 and 3, including epic commanders, because again, one of the biggest things is like, yeah, we can say that this is like the best if you had it, but a lot of times you don't have it, especially if it's KvK 2 and 3, it's your first time going through it. Now you migrate it back once or twice, medium spender, high spender. I mean, you have everything. It's a difference. So I think the best way to do this is to go to my other screen where I copied a tier list off of somebody. We basically stole it off of somebody. There's this thing called tiermaker.com, and you can use other people's tier lists, but it serves a purpose that of what this video is. And I think this is a better way to present the information. Okay, hey man, this might be a fairly long one. Okay. So I'll try to do timestamps, but timestamps may or may not, because I'm not categorizing it like that. You might have to just watch it all the way through. Okay. So I'll just go with, I already did a little bit of it. So these commanders that are in, I'll just talk about like S tier is going to be the best. If you have it, you should be using it. A plus, I wanted to distinguish from A. Like A plus is like, they're not exactly the best, but I mean they're phenomenal choices. Because that's what's the game is made available at this point in time. A tier would be just a step below that. Like, yeah, this might be your third March, fourth March, something like that. If or in your lineup, but not necessarily the best in your lineup. B plus is, it's a pretty good commander, but if you had other options, you would use it. B is even more so like, this is just something that you can use, but it won't necessarily like be good. And then I just say after B tier, you kind of just don't want to use them because there's other commanders that you could use, but you'll take so many severely wounded. I don't think you will have a very fun time on the field. So C tier is like, you basically can't use these commanders because you just wouldn't have a positive experience at that point. Okay. So I'll probably swap between my screens a little bit to kind of do some explanation because I think that's very relevant. So all these commanders are like gathering commanders in C, and then there's 2 peacekeepers, Lohar and Boudica. I don't think that you can use them at all. You'll just get negative trades. And then NA, because I used the tier list that had all of the commanders in it, like obviously all of these Season of Conquest commanders have to be excluded. So I'll just start with Uji Mundak. I think that's an easy B tier just because there's so many good infantry commanders that you can utilize. Jorn, Sun Tzu, at the epic tier on top of the legendary tier commanders that Uji just doesn't look very impressive. By the same thing with Osmond, he's a glass cannon. He will output quite a bit of damage, and then he does give you quite a bit of troops as well. But in the open field, you're really looking for the AOE. That you're really looking for the AOE. So I don't really think that Osmond fits what you're looking for open field specifically. But one-on-one, dude, Osmond will shit on you low key. Now with Babers, the epic cavalry specifically are actually okay. Buy bars even more so in open field because there's not a lot of ways that you can really get AoE onto cavalry in the early game. Your best options would be to like a Saladin Ethel, Saladin YSG, something like that. So because he offers you AoE, I think that he's better than most epics. Does that make him A or B plus? I don't really know, but I'm gonna be bold and say that he's an A because I remember in KvK 1, I definitely used him as a secondary because that AoE is just undeniably good, and that's what you're looking for in the open field. He has tons of march speed, so you're able to get away and maneuver pretty well as well. I'll give him an A for that. Now, Belisarius again is like again the Calver are actually okay, and with Belisarius, he with especially combined with Babers, he's able to get around the field very easily. You literally can't catch him. You can harass people. He's annoying as hell. He doesn't necessarily get good trades, but you could use him as a farm killer. You can do hit and run tactics. There's a build that you can use to kind of optimize that type of play style. You have to kind of micromanage the march, so it doesn't really work as well in a murder ball per se. But all things considered, I think I think he's less usable than by Babers by bars. I'll give him a B plus. I give him a B plus. Fuck it. Jorn. Jorn can give you AoE skill damage debuff to an enemy, 3 targets. He has instant proc damage, which is really good in the open field because you're not necessarily going to be wailing on one person until your march dies. It's like hit and run kinda. Um his damage factor himself is kind of low, but like if you like had to use it, if you were looking to, bring another infantry marcher on the field, I think that it's safe to say you're gonna use him somewhere. I'll give him an A. Now the archers are really tricky because unless you have Edward or you have really because you can't really use Tamaris. I wouldn't recommend using Tamaris as a primary, and this is relevant for Herman. I'll get to that. If you want to bring out a archer march, you have to use, if you don't have Edward or Tamaris, I mean, you can use YSG primary if you wanted to, and then maybe somebody else secondary. Most people don't do that. They like to keep their YSG at 40. And Herman does offer march speed and can contribute to a rage engine. Again, you're going to get focused. But, like, again, this is KvK, 2 and 3. Like, and it sucks that it's so saturated. It's so saturated. I'm trying to put them here. It's so saturated by people that migrate back. And if that wasn't so much an issue, some of these epics could be a lot better. But because of the migration back, and they're trying to fix that, it's really hard to use these epic commanders in a very meaningful way because you get focused because you're the only guy out there with it, right? But I mean, if you trying to bring archers to the field and you don't have Edward or Tamaris and you don't want to run YSG primary, then I mean he's one of your only options. I think he's relatively weak, one of the weaker options, but I can understand the utility with the march speed, and the ability to grant the 100 rage to proc. I think he's okay. He has a cool effect where he can silence people. I like to use him with the silent trial. I've used it. It's okay. I don't know enough about Dao Chan, but I haven't seen anybody use her personally. Like, I guess B. I can't even really. I can't really speak on her. Now with Pelagius, You know, with Pelagius, hmm, you know, I didn't see him used at all. I never seen a Pelagius. Most people use like Mena, Sal. I saw Babers a couple of times. Belisarius for sure. I think he's the weaker of the cavalry, but I still don't think he's bad. Like, cause it's kind of like Babers has the AOE and he has the AOE damage and he has the movement speed. Belisarius just has movement speed, not the damage. Babers has the damage but not the movement speed. So I gotta put him on the same tier as Belisarius, I guess. Now Sun Tzu, what a phenomenal epic commander. I mean AOE damage, rage, engine, it has a little bit of tankiness, increases the infantry health, has skill damage. For sure, he's an A plus. He's not the best of the best, but he's probably the best secondary that you can use for your infantry. If it's not a legendary secondary. Now, Kira, if you have her maxed, I think she does okay damage. The okay stats. Her active skill does lots of AOE damage over time, and AOE regular AOE have a chance to buff your skill damage. I think her and YSG together is solid. Lots of damage. I'll give it an A tier. It's one of the better ones. Now, Joan of Arc, if you're running a support march and that's what you're doing, she's 100% A plus. Like running her like Richard Joan, like you'll lose that trade. Like you're gonna trade bad, but you're gonna buff all your other marches. So hopefully your other marches trade good, or you're buffing um uh a whale or something like that. I think that's very valid. It's good. But the same reason that Kira is good, Kusunoki can like remove debuffs and stuff. So he makes him like kind of cool. He does have instant proc damage, which is good. You want that. I think he's also A. Now, no, this is gonna look like such a weird tier list, but you gotta remember, like, you don't have a lot of options early on. And I'm thinking like, everybody might raise back like, oh, it's trash. Or, like, yeah, but you have something better. Like this person is free to play and is doing this for the first time. He doesn't have what you have. Right. So I'm coming from there. I forgot to put her. She's C. She's a gathering commander. Uh I only use CPO to like make my march have more troops, and then I'm trying to like get to a flag, and I use CPO especially as opposed to Osman, who gives you troop capacity just because he's tanky. So if I like get hit, like I'm saving more of my troops for the flag or the reinforcing the rally. I don't know the combos that you can do with it, but I didn't see a lot of use out of him. I think he's less useful than these guys, and definitely less useful than all of these guys as well. Okay, now getting to the people that you probably actually care about, and I'll say this is where I talk about the legendaries. Alexander the Great. What I mean, you see him on everybody. I don't care if you got him 5111, 5511, 5551, 5232. You're using him. When you have him expertise, he has the shield. He makes targets take 30% more damage. AOE debuff, instant proc damage that's like really high. You can't nerf his damage. If you have an all damage debuff like Richard, you can't nerf his damage. He can counter healers like Richard. I mean, phenomenal. Very versatile, fast as hell, very offensive, but has just a little bit of chance to be tanky when he has the shield. A little bit of survivability. I mean, great, phenomenal commander. S. By the same token, I mean, a lot of the thing, Ethelflad, best debuff you will ever see, AOE damage. When if you have her secondary and people aren't paying attention, you have that counterattack reduction, so you're not taking as much damage. I've used her with Richard. and then Ethel, I mean, you don't even take damage. It's a great combo in my opinion. Ethel Flat, very very good. Now Sao Sao, I think Sao Sao is fine. He's not gonna give you like that much damage. He's squishy. He's a little quick. He has some utility. Like like I think there's better options, right? Because like a lot of the cavalry are good. Like at least Babers gives you AOE. I think in a lot of ways that's better. You know, he gives you a little bit of rage and stuff. Like it's like I think in some cases I would prefer Babers over Cao Cao just because at least I'm getting AOE damage. So like I would, he's definitely not here. Like if you had to rank him, like he's not necessarily at the bottom, but he like I could see how you might want Babers over South Sound in some cases. Nobody even used Charlemagne. He's not worth investing in, so I'm just gonna put him in C. I don't think he's actually C, but like, why would you even invest in him? Type of thing. But same thing, like, although Edward of Woodstock isn't exactly good in the Season of Conquest, he's good here. So if you did have him, I mean, like, he's S. In the open field, you know what? No, I take that back. In the open field, I'm thinking about Rally right now. In the open field, I give him an A plus. When his active skill does go off, they feel the hurt. And if YSG is kind of behind him, that AOE damage that you do is fierce, very fierce. I kind of don't like how he operates in the open field. I don't think that's where he shines, and that's why I can't give him the S. But in other situations, I think he's a lot better. Now Martell in the open field, I want to make sure I'm thinking about the open field only. He doesn't have any utility really. Like he can buff the secondary commander's damage. He has a shield, but he doesn't do any of these insane things that these two are doing, and that's why I have to give him the A plus. Although I think he's fine, like Martel YSG. If that's all you're trying to do is damage, like I think that's excellent. But Alex YSG gives you utility and the damage, so that's how I kind of feel about Martel. But very very a little bit more tanky. Can kind of deal with getting swarmed a little bit better than some of these other commanders. So I'll give him his props for that. Now Constantine, I think he's A plus in the field as well. Like he doesn't do any damage, and if you're gonna bring him, you're probably gonna bring him like Constantine Jones, so it's a support march. If they do focus it, your other marches can like whoop that person's ass pretty easily. So, but in itself, him as an individual march, I don't think it's like necessarily strong. I always thought about what would happen if you use Constantine with Alex. It's not the best way to use your Alex, but at least it would make Constantine a little bit faster, make it so he has some damage to him, and you're still like supporting the hell out of your teammates. But I don't think that combination like just like destroys your Alex's damage capabilities. I feel like into like really making Alex enable some other commander to do insane damage. I think El Cid is actually good. Like again, like if you want to mobilize your archers in a meaningful way and not get the plague epic, swarm down because you're using an epic, I think El Cid is fine, A plus. El Cid and Herman have some really interesting things that can be done with them two together. I think Herman primary, you can like silence and disable people. I think that's kind of cool. I didn't see too many people run that. I might have seen El Cid once or twice, a few fights here and there in Kingsland, but a lot of people just don't have him in a spot, and a lot of people just won't use archers at all. Like that's how hard it is to kind of get an archer march going that's worth a damn. Is like I would rather just bring YSG with a infantry commander than even use El Cid or use Kusunoki, use Kira. Like that's kind of what it is. I would just use Alex. It's what the kind of philosophy is. So, but if you're trying to utilize archers, that's the point I'm getting here. If you're trying to utilize archers, which you do, you know, he's a great option. Nobody really uses Freddy. I don't think he's bad. Like if you had him expertise, some people did. Only thing is, people can walk away. He does a shit ton of damage, and people can walk away from it, and it's single target. I give it a B plus. Like, I think these guys offer quite a bit more, and it's mainly because it's AOE and movement speed utility that they're offering, and I think that's sometimes better than just straight up damage, especially if it's single target damage that people can walk away from. So I think I'm being very fair with the B plus there. Now, Khan. This is weird because people focus him, and that makes it relevant to not give him a super high rating. But I think he undeniably does a lot of damage, and I think if you got Saladin in front of him, you can really start willing on somebody kind of quickly. I'll give him an A plus because even if you run on primary, like even when I ran on primary, yeah, I died a lot, but I still did fuck tons of damage to people. I definitely did. So I think it's I think Khan is okay, but just be careful when you're running on primary. You're definitely gonna get focused. I know some people used him. I think you can use Hannibal Barca. A lot of people don't even have him these days anymore. His debuff is really good. It is AOE, low damage factor, I believe. I don't know really where to put him because I just don't see it. I don't have him. I'm gonna give him an A because I know his debuff is nuts. I know his debuff is good. And if you're a whale trying to bring 5 marches, maybe that means something to you. Maybe he does mean something to you. JC, I think he's like again with Freddy, he's better than these guys, but not enough utility, you know. So I'll put him there. A man on the other hand is one of those commanders that I mean you can really. I've seen somebody use YSG Mehmed, and I was shocked at how much damage that it was doing because we didn't focus it. Oh my god, it did a lot of damage. I think it's like really good. Good AOE. Has a little bit of stats. Not march speed, but troop capacity. I think it's a great way if you wanted to go that route of YSG primary. I think it's a good way to mobilize your archers. Like YSG primary, fuck it, right? YSG primary, Mehmed secondary. That's what I'm gonna do in the Season of Conquest. I said fuck it until the new Archer Commanders come out. I'll just wait and I'll just use that. If I get swarmed, I get swarmed. Minamoto. Yeah, the debuff is good. It's just good. You can use Saladin with Minamoto and the debuff and do lots of damage to people. I did con Mina, and I was surprised, but even though I got swarmed, how much damage I was able to dish out. Just got to be careful. I think Mina is good. I think it's better than Sal because at least you're bringing a really, really strong debuff into play with 30% damage taken that your other marches can take away from. But think about it, like he gives you 3 targets. This is only 30% damage. Most people don't even have Mulan expertise, but let's say you did. I think she's good as well. Like if you had her, and this is the thing. I'm assuming that these commanders are at their full fucking potential. Like this isn't a necessarily free to play in mind type of thing. Like it is because that's why these purple commanders are where they are. But like I'm assuming that expertise, like Mulan is fantastic. when you swarm it, you're getting rid of rage on targets. You have some stats, a little bit of damage taking reduction. You got the crazy buff. My friend Bear has that expertise on his other account, and it worked. It for sure worked. Ragnar is in the same tier as these guys. He does have a little utility with the chance to reduce healing, but Alexander does that fine. Ooh, I forgot Ramses. He's here. You can't use him. Richard. I think they're gonna hate me. I'm biased as fuck. It's my tier list. I'm giving him the S. I'll tell you why. With the way that you're gonna utilize your Alex, like a lot of people use a lot of infantry in these KvKs, and you're gonna have more than one infantry march. There's so many great commanders you want to utilize. Martell, Jones, Sun Tzu, Ethel, YSG. Like Richard's gonna be in there somewhere, and to put him as a primary means you're not gonna get focused all that much unless you're out of position, and you can really make that work to your advantage. Because most people, like, as much as they want to say, oh, he gives you big hospital bill, this and that, like nobody really like wants to target him. They just try to ignore him, and that's where you can start doing tricky stuff like putting him in front of Ethel, and then now your Ethel flad's debuffing, and you're getting actually good trades because they're ignoring you, not even looking at the fact that it's a Ethel, like, getting AoE damage, debuffing, and I think that's a great combo. Richard with Sun Tzu is a good way to get damage, and then you're still supportive because you're debuffing enemies' damage, march speed, slowing them down. Richard Jones, I don't like that one as much. I think Richard Sun Tzu, Richard Ethel is better. Now for Saladin, he's an all-star. These are like the all-stars of like at least in the open field of KvK 2 and 3. With the Saladin, he's tanky. He's the only really tanky Cav commander. Maybe he is tanky. Solid damage, support tree. Doesn't really take a lot of skill damage in the field. You compare him with a lot of your squishier guys. Khan, Mena, even Mehmed. You compare him with Joan. I've seen people compare him with Joan. I've seen it with YSG. Like, you could put basically any AoE damaging commander behind him. Or I've seen people run him as support, which I think is a waste of your Saladin. But you could, and it's not even terrible. But I think like him as just a primary commander, Cav commander is phenomenal to really get your Cavs out there and like keep them safer because of the tank and spank that he offers. All-star. This is the all-star roster right here. Tamaris in the open. This is my tier list too. I'm giving her an S, and I wish more people had her because, like, not only is the debuff super good with all these high skill damage commanders, but it also allows you to. It just shows up on their card, so you know exactly who is the most vulnerable, and it really gives your kingdom and your murder ball a focal point. Like, okay, this person is about to get fucked if we hit him because he has the like purple little thing on him. I think Tamaris is phenomenal. It's just an issue getting her on the, like, how do you get her out? Like, who do you use? A lot of people use Edward Tamaris. That's like the combo. Like, but if you're investing in Tamaris, you probably have invested in Edward. If you have Tamaris, you migrate it back. It's just weird, like, with the Tamaris. Like, there's not the only logical way to utilize her would be with Edward, and Edward himself isn't like exactly the commander that you're going for per se. Most people don't even invest them in at all, and if you had in the past or for whatever reason you did now, he's not even the best commander to use in the open field. I really sucks the predicament that archers are in the early game. You really don't feel like you have a viable option. That's what it felt like to me. But Tamaris, nonetheless, is good. It's just, how do you use her is more the issue. Wuzin Tian is a garrison commander only, but she is good. But she's a garrison. You're not gonna really use her in the field at all. Now YSG is another all-star. I mean, the AoE damage, the circle AoE damage is the name of the game, baby. Tons of skill damage, 50%, extra skill damage, chance to do more archer attack, chance to proc rage. I mean, great, phenomenal AoE damage, right? Phenomenal. I I I I, I can't really say anything negative about him other than I wish he had some mark speed. Like you can't give him tankiness. If you do, if you did it's no. Like it just wouldn't be okay. If they did give him like a decent amount of tanking, I know he has that relic buff for the season of Congress, but if they gave him like tankiness just outright, like you could use him as a primary and just like deal with the mark speed issues. Because like Richard has mark speed issues too. He's a tank, but he doesn't do any damage. But like if they gave him just a little bit of tankiness, like I don't know, like would that make him like broken? Probably. But this is my tier list. This is how I feel about KvK 2 and 3. This is it. Like these are the all stars. You know, these guys like yeah, you're going to use them if you have them. These guys are like basically great secondary, and in some cases primary commanders because you don't like really have anything else. And like I wanted to put, I don't know, I feel kind of weird about Hannibal Barker right here. Like, do I put him here with the rest of these guys? Like, I do think these two are more useful than these guys for sure. Right? Don't use anybody down here. Pretty much don't use anybody down here either. Try to stay within the B plus to S range. Like try to utilize it. If you got these commanders expertise or in a good spot, you try to use as many of these S and A plus commanders as possible. And when you can't really got that, then come dip down at the A. Cause you don't necessarily have to do 5 marches. Like some people think, like I use 2 primarily. I used Alex YSG, Richard Ethel, and I just took the best from the top that I had. You know, every once in a while I use like Martell Sun Tzu, and I use Khan Mena, and that's in that A plus tier. Like I didn't even dip down further, but I know that some people might not have as much as I do because I am a spender. So I wanted to give you at least some of these other options that I felt are like reasonable, that are actually like okay, you know. And a big thing is like your equipment too. Your equipment makes a huge difference in all this as well. Like you can make it work if you got equipment, you know, to go with it as well. This is my tier list. I thought I was gonna use the other screen some so I can utilize that feature, but I guess not. Hey man, hopefully you enjoyed the video and this gives you a very good insight into KvK 2 and 3 commanders. You're a wonderful person. See you in the next video.